So a bit of a rare treat for me in this week's GTA Online Weekly Update, in that they've given me a car to buy that I didn't already own, and that is the Pfister Neon. So this is based on the Porsche Taycan, pronounce it however you like, which is an all-electric 4-door supercar, and a really, really good looking one. When you see these things in real life, they are quite dramatic, and they are blisteringly quick. And the same can be said for this one in the game. I've got to admit, I bought this expecting to hate it, and that's not because I'm an EV hater. I've said before, I actually drive an EV in real life and I love it, but I've had a lot of problems with most of the EVs in this game. We'll come back to that later. But does this one suffer from the same problems? Well, around town, definitely not, because around town this thing is absolutely brilliant. So it's all-wheel drive, fully electric. It's got that instant power that you expect from an electric car, and it seems to be one of the few cars in GTA Online that knows it's in a game. And it knows that it's in a game called Grand Theft Auto, because this thing wants you to drive it like you stole it. It responds really well to rough handling, so if you chuck this into a corner with too much power, or if you just manhandle it around, it rewards you by being really, really good fun through the town. But then you get on the freeway, and, well, this happens.
Visual down, radar down, what's happening?
Something's knocked out the entire desk.
Yeah, as is always the case, the top speed is the downfall of all of the EVs in this game, and we will come back to that later. But first, let's have a look at what else this thing does on the freeway. And on the freeway, I've got to admit, the Fista Neon is not great, because that handling, that loose handling that makes this thing so fun through the city, actually makes it a bit of a handful on the freeway, because there isn't a huge amount of grip, there isn't a huge amount of downforce, and it's just a bit of a pain to live with when you're on the freeway. But that's enough of me griping. Let's have a look at some customization, because as I say, I don't get to buy new cars for these reviews very often, so it's nice to drop a customization in for you. And in a way, it's quite a limited one, because even before I bought this, I knew what colour it was going to be. It was a choice of two. But let's look at the rest of the customization first. This is one of the few cars where I don't change the wheels, because I actually like the wheels it comes with. The rest of the customization, I've got to admit, it's not brilliant. I do quite like how the Fista logo in those skirts is illuminated, but there aren't many good options. It amounts to tweaks more than proper customization, I would say, on this. That's not to say it's bad, because this car is another one that comes straight from Rockstar's photocopying department. And my god, it looks good in black. That wasn't the original plan, but that looks good in black. Anyway, I digress. There's the first colour. It was either going to be grey or it was going to be blue. And yeah, you can't argue with that blue. There's another interesting point in that the secondary colour actually controls the colour of the stripe, which is quite unusual for customization. But as I was saying, this is another one that comes straight out of Rockstar's photocopying department. So this is absolutely indistinguishable from the real Taycan. So back to the review, and let's have a look at my major gripe, which, yeah, you guessed it, it's got to be the top speed. And we're still nowhere near it, so let's just fast forward and catch up with that part of the lap. And through the magic of editing, we've made it to the top speed test. As ever, just a quick note for anyone that's new to the channel, what we have here is a section of road that's measured to exactly 1 mile. I've got 2 markers on the road. I floor everything between those 2 markers, do a little bit of simple maths, and that gives you a realistic and achievable top speed, not a theoretical top speed. This is one that you can pick the car up and and actually hit it without perfect conditions. And this is the rather paltry speed that this managed to do. Yeah, 108. And this is my problem with the EVs in this car because, you know, just saying. Now, I do understand why they've done it, because the acceleration on these cars is so vicious. If they had realistic top speeds as well, the EVs would basically dominate the game, because there'd be no reason to use the other cars for most of the missions, because these would just be so much faster. So I get that they have to nerf it, but it does spoil some of them. Things like this, I know most of them are limited to 155, but yeah, these things are easily capable of over 190 miles an hour. This should be much faster in the game, and I wish they'd stop doing this to the EVs, because it's spoiling some really good cars. Things like this, things like the Virtue, they should definitely have decent top speeds that are comparable with the ICE cars in the game. Anyway, it's a bit of a first world problem, but that's my rant over. But as I was saying, my usual caveat at this time of the year, be really careful with that money. We've got a GT, we've got a DLC coming out, and we can be pretty sure that's going to be quite an expensive one, especially if you're on PC. And the reason it will be more expensive on PC is because I don't know whether it's coming out at the same time or slightly afterwards. You guys are going to be getting the expanded and enhanced update, which is going to make the HSW upgrades available to you. Now they vary in price, but let's say they run on average $1 million a car. So, you know, if you've got 15 cars that qualify that you want to put the HSW upgrades on, you're going to need 15 to 20 million on top of the DLC costs. Now the DLC business is probably going to run you at about 5. There'll be a couple of release day cars, so I'd imagine if you want to get the business and a couple of cars on release day, you're going to need sort of 10 million. So you stick another 20 on that, you're going to need a lot of money for this DLC, so just be careful with that money. So as we come through here, what are my final thoughts? Is this worth picking up? I'm kind of figuring this out as I say it. I really like this car. I think it looks good. I think it looks like the real car. Even though the customization's weak, it does make it look really, really nice. The handling around the city is absolutely fabulous. It's so much fun around the city. As I say, I quite like a car that you can manhandle and just be a little bit careless with. Like I say, this thing really wants you to drive it like you stole it, and that's a good thing. In a game like this, that's a good thing. The top speed ruins it a little bit. The top speed basically means that it's no use for you in racing, and to a certain extent it's less useful in sessions, because everyone's going to be in something that can pretty much outrun you. It is on offer this week. It is a decent offer. You can currently get this for under $1 million, which for any car in GTA is a really decent price. Is it worth it? I don't know. I'm going to have to say this is on your conscience. I think it probably is, just because it's such a pretty thing and it's so much fun to drive through the city. I think it's worth it. But my usual caveat this time of year, be careful with that money. And here's the time it managed to do. And here's where it sits on the lapboard. That said, I hope this was useful. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.